most part, and not all people, I'm not trying to make a blanket statement here, but most people talk about the guards, the guys that are able to shoot, that are able to go to the basket, that can pass, that make their teammates better, that can dribble, that they can do an array of different things. You know, I mean, the big guys, they're big guys. They really can't dribble to that degree. They really can't shoot. So, I mean, there's a small distinction there. But then Barkley went back to talk about, you know, what happened in 2010. And you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show. The Decision televised special, and Barkley told 103.5 FM in Dallas-Fort Worth that it was a punk move for James to leave the Cavs to take up with the Miami Heat. Now, let me say something about that. Let me say something about that because I know a lot of you are listening right now and you're saying, well, Doug, you did the same thing. No, I did the same thing at the time. At the time, I thought it was a punk move. I still think it was a punk move. And I guess I need to know how the question was phrased to Barkley. Or did he arbitrarily just bring up this whole thing about the Miami Heat? Because if you notice, since LeBron's going back to Cleveland, I haven't, for the most part, even mentioned that. Maybe one of you guys might bring it up on the show. You'll post something in the chat room about it, and then I'll talk about it and I'll give my opinions. But I'm on the record. When LeBron James had that, when he wrote the letter and decided that he was coming back to Cleveland, and that he, you know, was doing this because of a higher calling, and he felt like he needed to go back to Cleveland and finish and handle unfinished business, and you know, for the most part, acknowledge that he made a mistake and that he shouldn't have left in the first place. I forgave the guy. And for the last 3 years that he's been back in Cleveland, you haven't really heard me make one mention of that. You know why? Because it's old. It's old news. It's water under the bridge. And I don't ever bring it up. I, for the most part, agree with everybody. I've always thought that he was a great basketball player. But when he went back to Cleveland, and especially winning a ring in the fashion that they did, like, that's over. That's in the past. Okay? And I guess I need to hear how the question was posed to Barkley. Because if Barkley arbitrarily went back and threw out this stuff about LeBron going, you know, to Miami, you know, and calling it a punk move, if he arbitrarily did that and wasn't asked a direct question, then that's some bitch stuff right there. It is. Yeah. I mean, if he just arbitrarily just went all the way back and, as they say, brung up old shit. If he just arbitrarily just in this conversation with this reporter and wasn't asked a direct question, and he just arbitrarily brought up this old stuff about LeBron going to Miami just to throw shots at him, then that's what they call a bitch move. It's as simple as that. But once again, I'm not sure exactly how the question was asked. You know, maybe they asked him specifically about his thoughts about that. And even in that, if a reporter were to ask me about that now, I would temper my statements to say, just like I have said on this show over the last couple of years since he's been back in Cleveland, you know, I didn't agree with the decision. I didn't agree with how he did it. I didn't agree with the fact that he even went down there and joined up with these other great players to basically, you know, cherry pick a championship. But I wouldn't go ham, and I wouldn't have the vitriol that it seemed like Barkley had in his comments about it. Man, and here's what LeBron had to say in this little interview last night, man. He says, I'm not going to let him disrespect my legacy like that. I'm not the one who threw somebody through a window. I never spit on a kid. Ooh. I never spit on a kid. I never had unpaid debt in Las Vegas. Damn, he going back to Vegas. I never said I'm not a role model. I never showed up to an all-star weekend on Sunday because I was in Vegas all weekend partying. All I've done for my entire career is represent the NBA the right way. 14 years, never got in trouble, respect the game, print that. Wow, couldn't have been said any better. Wow. Wow. Unbelievable. James, whose friendship with Dwayne Wade, Chris Paul, and Carmelo Anthony have been called into question, recalled watching a 1993 NBA Finals game between Jordan Chicago Bulls and Barkley's Phoenix Suns and being surprised that he saw on his screen. He said, go watch the 93 Finals when John Paxson hit the shot. James said Barkley and Jordan were laughing and joking with each other during the game while somebody's shooting a free throw in the finals. But, nobody were friends back there. Well, I disagree with LeBron on that part. And I guess, and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show, I guess he brought that up. I guess he brought that point up because, once again, he's been getting so much flack about, the chummy relationship between him and a lot of the other big players in the league. And the fact that this whole phenomenon of going and playing with other big-time players has become prevalent over the last couple of years. But in relative terms, if you put it in context, the argument for players' relationships back in the day compared to players' relationships now is night and day. Back in the day, players could be civil with players, with old school players. Right, they didn't hate each other. They didn't want to kill each other. They despised each other because they were competitors. But in relative terms to, being civil in a game and shaking your opponent's hand compared to, going on a banana boat in the Bahamas with players from other teams and organizations and leaving as a free agent when the organization is building around you to go play with Dwayne Wade, probably the second or third best player in the game at the time, there are vast differences. So I don't agree with him on that. I don't agree with him on that. I don't agree with him on that. I guess the bottom line is I do think there was more of a competitive spirit back in the day. Let's put it like that. I think there was more of a competitive spirit back in the day where you really didn't hang out with your fellow competitors, with guys you were going to be playing up against. And I don't know to what degree that's the case, but I do feel that. I think most people feel that. So I'm not totally with, LeBron on that. But 90% of what he said, especially adding on top of it that Charles Barkley, has said some dumbass shit lately, politically and socially. I agree with him 100%. I agree with him 100% about Barkley bringing up that old stuff and, questioning whether how great of a play he is and crying. No, LeBron's trying to win. LeBron James got a small window left, man. This guy's played in the league, 14 years? It might even be 17 years. I don't remember the exact number. But, he's realizing that he got to get it now. He's trying to cement his legacy. So I totally understand him being, outspoken about the players and the pieces that they need to compete. Like, he probably watches Golden State every night. He's like, there's no way in hell we're going to beat these cats the way we're constituted right now. I don't blame him for speaking out. And once again, he probably feels like Dan Gilbert and that organization owe his ass. That's right. So all of the money I'm making you, as my cousin put it, all of the money that LeBron's made and making Dan Gilbert and that organization, the least they can do is spend some of that damn money to bring players in there to help them win. And who's going to question this guy's thoughts about what it takes and the pieces that they need to win a championship? Nobody should question that at all. Nobody should question that at all. And Barkley does, once again, because this stuff is so old and to bring that stuff up, he does sound like at the top of the story, the comment LeBron made, he does sound like a hater. It's as simple as that. And I hate using that term. I hate using the term hate because I think it's overused. I think the young people have made it so popular and they use it as a crutch when somebody's trying to give you constructive criticism. That's all we called it back in the day. But in this particular case, man, it does seem like Barkley, is going a little bit too far with it. And I like the fact that LeBron is going to defend himself. He also said that he's not going to take it anymore. I like the fact that LeBron's going to, defend himself and go back at Charles Barkley. This should be good. This should be great. 404-382-0338. You can also email me at Doug@theDougStewartShow.com. I tell you what, we get back from the break, man. It'll be hour number two already. The show is flying by. The show is flying by. We already did an hour. Damn. It's the funnest show on turf. I always say that. When we get back from the break, all I'm going to do is read chat. And get some of your thoughts on. On this Barkley LeBron beef. Yeah. We got birthdays and entertainment coming up in about 30 minutes. Some interesting stuff with that. Back to Super Bowl talk. Most famous Falcon of all time, probably. He's calling it a career. And some of the intriguing things he had to say. We'll touch upon that. And also, it's been confirmed. Everybody hates the New England Patriots. Yeah, studio audience, except New Englanders. We'll talk about that up next as well. Hour number 2 of the Doug Stewart Show coming up next.
Hey, yo, Mills, let's get him again. Kings Nation. Spot Raiders. You know. Mills. It's Spot Raiders, y'all. Yeah. Listen, boy, skills, y'all. Nah, I ain't skills, nah. I don't rep the beat. I ain't the cat that came out and made you one MC. I ain't the cat that did it alone, had no help. Carried the whole state on his back by himself. When P was the verb lord and Tim had a small frame. Before Missy came and got you wet in the rain. Was them raw metaphors that was picking your brain. It was a cat from Richmond sickening with a flow insane. Nah, I ain't him, he ain't me. They say we look alike, but they don't mean I want your CD. So it's best to back up, relax for acting tough. Get your facts up before your ass end up in the rap. And you don't want to see that dude. He was screaming VA when screaming VA wasn't cool. Now let me stop, that's me. But you'll never open the state, Playboy, cause I still got the key.
I'm from the B to the SA, one of the few who get played. I stay in these streets, a cop, cook, and flip, yay. Dog, you a slizzy, like Kunta and Kizzy. Who am I? Did you miss me? But on the up and up, they can't get enough for us. The home of Missy, D'Angelo, and Bubba Chuck. And you don't know what we capable of. Be at your crib with a mask, duct tape, and some gloves. What? Down here, cash rules. Nothing but bad dudes from Richmond and bad news. Make fast moves, dog. Stay alert here. Catch them up top, come down and drop work here. Home of the Brizzy, we live to get paid until I'm old and grizzly. This is where I stizzy. Born and raised from the cradle to the grave, and the V to the V to the Izzy.
Buckle your seatbelts, hold on tight. You know we had to do a remix, right? It's the best of both worlds, yeah, you know what we about. It's the bottom of the north and the top of the south. You dealing with some bosses, we ain't too fond of taking losses. You come around here, better be cautious. We coming with the forces of 500 horses, but we ain't under the hood. We come from the hood. Let's get one thing understood. We ain't no country bumpkins, so please don't make no assumptions. We ain't too city to get crunk and gritty. At first they ain't hit me, so I brought some friends with me. That's right. And everybody's repping the V-Dog. It's going down like fat kids on a seesaw. Next up,
I believe that's me.
Hey yo, Quan, can you hold me down?
Definitely. A lot of niggas been talking. Sooner or later, police gon' have to choke them. Bad news, we on that bullet shit often. Serving hard often. Pop shit and hop your in the crowd on bail. Fresh out of jail, VA screaming. Soon as I stepped on the scene, niggas got to flee. Cause not only do I rap and sing, I really clap that thing. And outside of Jesus, I'm born to be the king of kings. Keep my crown fitted, keep my throne straight. I want the whole world, my own state. Y'all just stepped on, I got that raw weight. My shit's all real, your shit's all fake. And I can tell it when I see these. They talk like me, but really wanna be me. Y'all ain't really trying to see me, niggas. I'm in the hood all day, I will heat y'all industry. I'm from the Easy.
to what?